Welcome. I have Kim Lee, the founder and CEO of Forge, a co-working space in Birmingham, Alabama. Kim, I keep thinking about your intro because Kim is one of my most favorite operators, and she's a coach in our programs. And there are so many wonderful things about Kim. And I cannot believe you haven't been on the podcast since 2020.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, what? Yeah, which is nuts. So I think we did a two-parter. We might have talked about your podcast, and then we did one with you and Kelsey,
Yep. Yeah.
which is nuts. So it's been since 2020. But you opened in what year did you open?
2017.
17. Okay, so
Yep.
Kim's been doing this for a long time. And one of my favorite things about Kim, I'm always like, whenever I meet somebody, I'm like, well, do you know Kim Lee? And they're like, no. And so this is the thing. So I told Kim for today, we're gonna do like a Kim Lee series. So Kim's been open since 2017. And when did you join our flight group?
I think probably 26. Well, I think it was 2016. It was before we opened, and I can remember. So our building is in a live, work, play.
Yeah.
So there's a food hall on the bottom, and then we're on the mezzanine, and then it's apartments above us. And I was sitting at the bar in the food hall, and the food hall was not open, and I was sitting down there working with construction, and that's when we had our first phone call to check out if I wanted to join the flight group. So it might have been early 2017 because we opened in September. So yeah, so it was probably the
Okay.
fall or spring of
Okay.
2017.
The flight group
It
I've
was
tried
before it
many.
was called Flight. It was before the co-working startup school started.
Totally. Yeah, we just started with like a mastermind sort
Yeah.
of format, and we still have that,
Yep.
which we don't talk about very much. So Kim's been in that for ages. So before the startup school, but now Kim is a coach in our startup school. She's very passionate about the numbers, which is why she's a perfect fit for our program because we are very passionate about people starting spaces that are profitable.
Right.
And Kim also facilitates our community manager calls often and sometimes our mastermind calls. And Kim is better at all of this than I am.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. Yes, one of those like, I mean, I have plenty of superpowers, but you are such a well, we just have different styles. I tend to be very like, okay, let's get to it. And Kim is so great at like, let's share a win. What are you working on next? Like just you have great facilitation skills and business skills. And Kim is such a great, I'm like talking about you in the third person. You're such a great operator
Ah,
in that I think you're very intentional and thoughtful. You test a lot of things. You try to track things like anything like promotions that you run, campaigns like year after year. She did a training for our community managers, which was amazing, on your BOGO program,
yeah.
right? Your summer BOGO program and walked everybody through like how they set it up and how they track it and how they promote it. Yeah, just very intentional. I think you're just an excellent operator.
Oh,
So I'm so grateful for you. I mean, I also just adore you every time I wish we caught up more often because I love
and we're
just
on like the
chatting.
opposite sides of the country.
I know. And we did discover lately that Instagram is presenting us
The
similar
same
feeds.
thing.
We both commented on one, it was something about bread.
Bread. Yep.
For my birthday, which was in March, my husband and daughter got me stuff to make sourdough because I keep talking about way delayed on this
That's
trend.
okay. Yeah.
But I can't even remember what the bread thing was because I haven't looked at it yet. But I was like, whatever that is. The other person you follow, I think, came up because of you is Shuggy. No,
Oh,
the
oh
super
yes,
the
yes. The
super big
protein.
girl who's like, do it, do it.
She's hilarious. Oh gosh. Yeah. She's really funny.
Wait, do you have a Ninja Creamy?
No.
Me neither. My neighbors have one, but because of her, I think I might have to get one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally want to make all of her low-cal desserts.
Oh gosh. Yeah. She's
She's
pretty
so
funny.
cute. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I started following her because it was said like Kim Lee follows this person. I
Oh,
was like,
well, I never got that bread recipe that I commented on that you had commented on and
I
never
should
got.
check and see if I have it.
Yeah, I
Maybe you
think
have to follow them first. And anyway,
I
okay. Okay, so Kim, for anybody who wasn't around in 2020 when you were on the podcast last, okay, so you're in the Pizzitz building in Birmingham.
mhm.
Okay, we won't revisit your entire co-working story, but live, work, play right downtown. How many you give us though your,
Okay.
this journey
So
on the space because you've
yeah,
also
so we
expanded an event space and
and not event space.
hmm
So we
exactly.
opening up our location, it was our first location. And so, as any like young, new business owner, new co-working space owner, entrepreneur, you want to start small and then grow. So, we were looking around at different spaces, much smaller, and had some LOIs on spaces, and everything just kept falling through. And so, we knew this building that we're in, it's called the Pizitz building. It's a 100-year-old building that was a department store downtown, and they totally restored it. Had been empty, I don't know how long, forever. And so they totally restored it. They took out the middle of the building so that it could become apartments, and all the apartments would have windows.
Mm.
And so they were saying the mezzanine was gonna be co-working, and so we happened to be family friends with the VP of the company who was in charge of filling the building. And so I talked to him, and he was like, "Yeah, we have an operator, but he connected me with the broker and kinda went on my way." Well, then when all these LOIs started falling through, I had an advisory board, and they were like, "Just go back to the Pizitz building. Like, let's see what's going on." And so I did, and our friend was like, "Yeah, the company that was gonna come has backed out, so we want you to do it." I'm like, "Okay, great." And they were like, "And it's 13,000 square feet, and it'll be," I can't even remember how much. And it was like, we can't do that. Like, this is not gonna work." And so we actually were able to be in the building, and we were gonna take half the floor, and somebody else, well, actually, we were taking less than half. They had the bigger portion. And so it was perfect. It was like, "Okay, we can start with 5,000 square feet."
Yeah.
I wish we had the startup school, because I would have known that was a bad idea, not just the 5,000 square feet, but how it was laid out. Anyways, and so we were working on everything for probably 3 or 4 months, and then the company that was going in with us backed out. So then we were able, the food hall was about to open, the apartments, people were moving in, and they just wanted the space activated. And so we worked a deal where I was able to grow into the space, so I was able to start small and grow all within the space, which was incredible. So we started with 5,000 square feet. We quickly expanded and added, so we're like 4 giant hallways. So we started with 2 of the hallways, and then quickly added the third, which was all offices and dedicated desks. And then 2019, we were ready to take on the final side. And so we redid our lease, we took on the final side, and it was set to open on March 16th,
Oh my
2020.
God.
Yeah, so, or March 15th. Our lease officially started on March 15th, and March 16th is the day that nobody came to work, and we added event space. So it actually, the good side is that we were able to, like, kind of open back up pretty early in early June, and so we never officially closed because we had offices and we were
Yep.
mail, so
Mail. Yep.
we were essential. But all of our members, we switched to virtual, and so June, we were able to switch everybody back, and we had plenty of room for people to spread out, so that was the good side. But we did a couple years ago, I can't remember now, maybe last January, 2024, yeah, 2024, we converted that space and added, like, 6 more offices. So, we were getting traction with our event space. It was not an easy event space because it wasn't its own like,
That's right.
closed off space. It was
Yep.
open to
Yep.
the, because we're mezzanine, and so it always was having to be redone. And so we were getting, some months we were getting a lot of business, and some months was just kind of good, but it was just a lot of work on our team. So it was
Yeah.
like, if we can get these offices and have them filled and have recurring revenue, and it's easier work for our team, like, that's the move. So, yeah, so now we have 27 offices. We have 13,000
Wow.
square feet. We have 4 conference rooms, and then we do rent out our main co-working space, and then we have another that's, we call it semi-private space, but we will rent out our main co-working space during the day. It's
As event space.
Yeah, it
Yep.
doesn't happen very often, which is, if it happened often, I think our members would get annoyed, but
Yep.
we are always open to doing that. And I mean, maybe once or twice a month we'll do that.
And you just send an email then to your Flex members and say, "We're
Just put a sign
closed."
up.
Yeah. Oh, you just put a sign up.
That's not, because we have more spaces they can use,
Oh,
like,
you
so,
divert
like,
them.
yeah, so
Yep.
we just put them in other spaces. We would never.
Okay, so you don't tell them not to come in. You can give them an open office or a meeting room
Yeah,
or wherever. Yeah.
right, and
Okay.
we have, like, our lobby has space in it, and where we added the offices, there's countertop seating, and
Yep.
so we have other options, but no, we just put a sign out.
Yeah. No, people always ask like, how to handle that. And it depends if you can divert them into
Yeah,
like the next best space, then totally
yeah.
fine.
But I think
You,
even if we couldn't divert them, we would still rent it out and, yeah, probably
yeah,
send out an email.
yep. Yeah. It's all about the bottom line, Kim. No. You do, but so right. So I mentioned
I
that
knew this was
Kim
coming.
is very focused on the numbers, and part of that is because your space is not that efficient. So you
Yeah,
have 13,000 feet, but because it's a mezzanine and
yeah.
yeah, that it is hard to like be as profitable as one as if you had a like a full floor
Right.
that didn't have the mezzanine or didn't have it's the cut. Is it the cutout that's the
Well,
problem?
it's that the mezzanine hallways are not wide enough to have
To-
offices on
on
both
both
sides.
sides. Yep.
So, I
So
mean, we
you've
should
got
have
offices
wood.
and then a wide walkway that's not monetizable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
it's really pretty
it's
and lots
you
of
have a
light.
beautiful space, totally. And Kim is super involved in the Birmingham community, and we'll have to have a separate podcast. And I think that you had a podcast for a while where you interviewed all local people. You host a lot of events. You do a lot of community events. Wait, did you do like a tailgating party recently? I feel like we were talking to Grace about that. Maybe that was a while ago.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah, we
and you were
kicked
just
off
voted. Wait, go ahead.
yeah, we kicked off the March Madness with a tailgate.
Ooh, okay, that was a while ago then. Whoops.
Doesn't feel like it.
And you were just voted best co-working space in Birmingham. Yeah, totally. So Kim like really understands the business model and she's passionate about the people in the space, which I love. And you're always featuring people on it feels very authentic. That's what I love about you're a great marketer, even though you don't really have a marketing background.
No,
Kind of
but I mean,
learned.
it's really I mean, I do like it. Yeah.
Yeah. You like it and you learn a lot and test a lot. And you've had I think the other thing about you is like you've had some ups and downs. You lost a lot of co-working members after the pandemic. You had to convert your event space back to offices. Like you just like real life. I think of you as like, you know what you're doing, you are excellent at operating a co-working space. Like you know all the things to do and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But it's like that's what being a business owner is entails, right? It's not always just like, oh, we opened and then up and to the right,
Yeah.
let's do the next one. So, and
I
you
know.
have,
I actually had a
yeah,
coach for all, which I probably should have one again, but we ended it and it and it was kind of like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna close. And then we just kept on going.
kept going. Yep, totally. Here you
Oh
are.
gosh. Yeah. So yeah.
Wait, are you 7 years in?
Yeah. I mean, this will be 8, right?
Oh,
September 8th will
geez.
be 8.
Right? It will be
Yeah,
8.
which is crazy, crazy.
It's totally crazy. Yeah, you've been doing this for a long time. Okay, let's talk about your mail program.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Kim is also a coach in our Moneymaker Mail Challenge. And she, to be totally honest, is the only reason this thing happens because I know she laughs, but it is. She knows all the things. I think I sort of realized that and was like, hey, can you just do this? And you're like, sure. I think that's what I do. Not every operator is going to have this approach, but you're very thoughtful and you try to be very intentional and like be strategic. And you do a lot of programs like the Goldman Sachs program, like the working on your business sort of thinking, and you also know how everything works in the business, which
Yeah.
is
That's not necessarily a good thing.
it's not necessarily, it's very useful for me
Yeah.
that you're a strategic thinker and you also know how you do the mail. So,
Right.
and you have a great team and
I do.
yeah,
Yes.
that's another thing. You've had a lot of practice hiring.
Yeah. Yes. That's a
Did I put that
positive way.
nicely?
No, I have had all great people. I do think in our industry as community managers and then you have part-time people, the lifetime is
Yeah.
just not as long as we would like.
Yeah.
So, which is,
I
I mean,
know,
it is what it is.
but
And
right. It's totally a
it's a great,
reality.
and I look at it as when our community managers leave and go somewhere else, they are like have so many more skills
Yeah.
and are, like, such a better employee, so I feel like they really learn a lot, and
It's a great training ground. Yeah. And you're a great manager. Wait, and you had one of your team members went on to be like, what is she studying to be like a sports agent? I
oh,
mean,
no, she's an NFL agent. So
I,
cool. Yeah,
I love
I know.
that.
And NIL, like, college. Like, now you get agents for NIL, which who knew?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay. Your mail program. How many mail clients do you have ish?
Ooh, see, I got no prep questions.
I
So
know. I was
okay.
like, Kim, let's do a podcast. And I was like, I'll send you prep questions. And I was like, I'm actually not going to get you any
So
prep questions.
we probably have about 215 to 220.
Okay.
And I think everybody, well, I guess I shouldn't say everybody. If you have a staff location and there's not a lot of mail places around you, I think you should do it. I think it's a long play. We actually opened with virtual mail. Like when we opened our space, we had virtual mail. We have changed platforms since
Yeah.
then. But and it's really good if you get on with a platform that is bringing you business, that is
Leads.
running ads to bring
Yeah.
you business, yeah. And so, I mean, we've been open now for 7 years, and we now have 215
Yeah.
customers,
Which
200.
is, I always say, like, when's the best time to start a virtual mail program? Yesterday. But the
Yeah,
next best time it's right now.
yeah,
Because, right, you're just looking at it as like a few every month, a few
yeah,
every month. And it's a pretty sticky business because if you get the right clients in the door, so you want to have the
yeah,
right packages, you don't want to be priced too low,
right.
and you want people, and then people stay because it's an address. And you have a couple of sexy accounts. I don't know
So,
if we're allowed to say who you have, but
yeah, I
there's
mean,
some,
we've got some good ones, which
yeah,
happened because we've been doing it for so long, and
totally. Yeah.
yeah. So,
And a little luck, a little, yeah, just being in the game. Because one of them is $3,000 a month ish.
I've heard good, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I think when you say everybody should do a mail program, because if you start early or, it's never too late to start and you build it, it can be a significant source of revenue. And it is work.
It is work, and
So,
it's
yeah.
scary work. Like, I mean, it is, it's federal, like,
You said it's scary work.
yeah, it's like you
It's
have
serious.
it's
It's mail. It's
serious.
federally regulated. Yeah.
Yeah, but and so you have to the people who you hire have to love details, like,
Yeah.
they have to love details, and, like
Which is probably no one listening, by the way. If you're an entrepreneur, you probably aren't that great at details. So, right,
that's
hire
who you
someone
have
who
to
is an
hire.
opposite skill
Yes,
set.
yes,
Yes.
but it's not so you have to be somebody who likes details, does not mind doing the same thing every day. If there's, like, a little bit of a problem, they like to figure it out, and yeah, so it is, like, we've had a few situations where we've lost a piece of mail or something went wrong, and those situations, when they happen, I rethink everything. It's like,
Yeah.
is it worth it? Is it worth? And it is. We cannot
You wake up
replace
in a
that.
cold sweat in the middle of the
Yeah,
night.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Let's
fortunately,
close this thing down.
there haven't been many, and then I always do every I don't know, maybe once a year at least. I totally run the numbers. I'm like, "Are we actually making money on this?" Like, with time, and we do. So, it is a really good business, and, I mean, you can convert people to co-working space members, but the great thing about mail is, like, as a co-working business, you can sell a certain number of offices and a certain number of co-working spaces, and then that's it. You can't make more widgets to sell, like, you're sold, and with mail, you have no limit. So, it's
Or
just
you're left with more complicated products that you could create. Like you've been talking about, like
oh,
business
yeah.
masterminds or mentorship programs, like other things that you're thinking about. Those are all like more complex and,
Right,
yeah, take more effort to sell. And you would have to get more involved. That's not something that you can just have your team run. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And you manage your mail program only with your existing team. Like you don't have somebody come in just to do the mail. Like they sort of fit it into the nooks and crannies.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we've gone through several staff iterations, how we
Mhm.
hire, not how we hire, but how we're going to staff. And right now we have one lady, I always say girl but one lady who she is like 8 to 2:30 and then another lady comes in at noon. And that's sort of different than the last hire that we had.
Yeah.
So the person who works in the afternoon, she does the mail and then kind of, like, takes over community manager roles in the afternoon. So we have about 1 and a half. Like, our staff is, like, 1 shakes out to be a full-time and a part-time.
Okay.
But,
For
yeah,
13,000 square feet. And that's about right.
that's
Does it feel a
about
little
right.
lean or about right?
It's been well, what's been really great is having the first shift is not full like, the team that we have now and had right before this one, they were able to help cover each other,
Yeah.
And so, like, having some flexibility in your team too, if they can stay a little bit later or
Yeah.
come a little bit earlier or cover each other's shifts, like, if they have that flexibility, it makes it work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right now it's okay. It sometimes when we have a lot of bookings or we have events and other bookings, then it can feel a little lean, but overall, it's pretty good.
Good. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. So do they manage the mail at a certain time every day? Like, is there a routine that they have?
So we've worked on that, and what we've found out is it's best when our afternoon shift comes in. They do the mail right then so that our community manager is still here and they can do the mail without getting interrupted. So we did it the opposite way, like, there was the role before, it was actually sales and operations, and so it's like, "While our community manager's here, you sit in the back, work on sales, then come forward when she leaves, take over the front desk, and do the mail, like, from 2:30 on." And he just kept getting interrupted, and so the mail would take, like, 3 to 4 hours. So it was like, "Okay,
Right.
we gotta flip this. You do the mail while the community manager's here so that she's the one who's answering the questions, and you can stay focused." And so that's made a big difference. So it
Yeah.
takes about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours a day.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, and those are the kinds of just practical things that you've experimented with that actually make a big difference.
Yeah,
Because to your point, like, well, how much time does it take? Well, your team might be reporting it takes 4 hours to do the math, or sorry, to do the mail, but that's because they're getting interrupted every 10 minutes and
right.
then like have to get back to it. So,
Yes. Yeah.
mhm.
And then, like, we just got a mail client that, most of the time they say they're not gonna get mail or they're not gonna make requests. This mail client
Super
is
high
like,
maintenance. Yeah.
yeah, super high maintenance, which is great, it's
Yeah.
great. I'm like, "Listen, we're making more money." But when they were getting interrupted and they had 40 or 50 pieces of mail to scan for the one person, like, it just took, 2 hours to
Time.
get through one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So, it's really having them both here at the same time and the mail person not get interrupted has made a big
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. I see that yeah, happen or that really work. We used to do the same thing, which was wonderful. Just focus time for the mail, and that's all the person was doing for a certain time slot, and so it just didn't feel that stressful. So I was just talking to the new CEO at Anytime Mailbox because Matt is not the CEO,
Yeah.
Morgan, and I was telling him like, it's actually can be very intimidating or overwhelming for people to start with mail, which is why we run the challenge because yes, you can figure it out. Yes, you can go online and Google things. Yes, you can sign up with referral partners and they'll give you some training, but there's a lot of moving parts and even things like, right, should I dedicate, a certain time slot to it? How does the team manage it? Like there's just a lot of things you want to operationalize and figure out how that works for you. But I'm curious just like what is it do you think that's sort of overwhelming for people or feels like a hurdle to like get started? And you've seen people go through the challenge. Like, what
Yeah.
do you think is helpful about the challenge? And
Well,
you.
I was gonna
And
say,
you. I mean, besides
small
Kimberly.
small plug for the challenge. So the first time you did the challenge, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this, 1, just to see if there's any little tweaks because 'cause we've been doing mail for a long time, and 2, I was like, and she might need me on the call, so I should just go through it and see." So literally I went in thinking, "Okay, what tweaks can I have?" And I came out with, like, 3 new products, like, totally redid our landing page, had 3 or 4 different products that I added, so even if you have done the mail channel even if you have been doing mail, if there are things that you wanna focus on, I went in for small tweaks, which would have been worth it too, but came out with, like, do everything. So, but I think people get overwhelmed because there's a lot of moving parts in a co-working business. I think a lot of people kind of or maybe some people do mail on their own for their members, and so they think, "Oh,
Mm,
we've got it covered, so we don't need to
yep.
do this." But
Like
there's
they
so
aren't very aware of the revenue opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, the legality of what you
Mm,
can and can't do handling people's mail. Like,
feels
you
like,
can't just
yeah,
do it.
intimidating.
You yeah, and so I think that and it's like, well, it's not gonna be that much, or there's already other places, or we're already doing so much, and so I think a lot of people know they need to do it, but it just kinda gets put off 'cause you know, it's easier to set up than changing your membership software or signing
Which
up for
you've also done.
yeah, which I've done. It's much easier than that. So don't put it off, just do it because and I mean the challenge really does. I mean, it's amazing what people accomplish in those 10 or 12 weeks if you go in with the mindset that you're gonna finish.
Yeah.
It
And it's funny because every time we set it up, I think, is this too long? And then I go through it and think, no, people need time to, implement things
yeah.
and to come with their questions. Like I'm thinking about Jody, and Jody was going to do a podcast session and then something came up. But Jody's like also a great, she's like super savvy and she hadn't done a mail program. And she's like, I just don't, she just had lots of like
Yeah.
mystery. Like she just couldn't sort of picture like how's this really going to work. And
Yeah.
so we'd be like, you would just do it, just do this thing, and then come back and ask your questions, and we'll just
Yeah.
tell you what to do. And
Yeah.
that's what she did. And I think she got a really big client too that was like 3K plus. That was
Uh,
Google Business address, address related, but it was a good nut for her because
yeah.
she's, she's early. We interviewed Christine Tosi. You probably haven't listened to the podcast yet, but she was like one of our gunners. She would show up to all the calls and she won all the points. And they're launching their second location with virtual mails already. It's the space is under construction. They already have mail
Oh,
clients,
oh, amazing.
right? So they're already making money on that location before they're paying rent or anything. So yeah. And she was another one kind of like you. She had a basic program and she's selling some premium packages too. Anyway, you can listen to that episode,
Okay.
but super fun. Yeah, it's also, well, I'll ask you this instead of just saying what I think. What do you think is the benefit of doing it live, like with a cohort?
Well, I think one to learn from other people. Other people ask questions that you may not even think to ask. And you're like, "Oh, I should be thinking about that." And just hearing other people's ideas, their processes of what they're thinking, how they're setting it up. And then also the accountability to get it done. So, I mean, you can definitely do it on your own, but having other people do it at the same time and then coming together and seeing what they did, what you did, being able to talk about it. There is a like dedicated Q&A call that you don't have to go to, but you can pop in with your questions or you can listen to other people's questions. I think it's invaluable.
Yeah. I think that was one of the surprises for me was that people really just like the community aspect of it. We had a great group in the last cohort and people would show up to the calls, which is
Yeah.
great. Sometimes they don't, right?
Yeah.
Because, owners are busy and it's usually the owner. Sometimes we'd have a community manager that was kind of empowered and yeah, and also the accountability because I think as operators, we have a lot of stuff on our list of things we're working on. And I know I'm that way. Like sometimes I just need it to be time bound. And I think the other nice thing is people look at it, we sort of like encourage people think about making your money back in the
Yeah.
program, right? Like get it set up so that you're making money and it pays for the fee to go through the investment in the program. And so I think that's a really good mindset for people to have so they don't just like buy it and let it sit on the shelf and then they don't do it and they don't get, make
And
any
I think
revenue.
it's broken down in a way that it's not like you're gonna come to the call and then have 10 hours of work to do before the next day. Like, it's
Yeah,
broken down in a way where I can't really remember, but I feel like it's pretty manageable chunks, like an hour of
totally.
work,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's broken down so that the workload is also not a ton and that you can be fully functioning by the end if
yeah.
the post office
Operates, which we
cooperates.
help with too, though. And that's
Yeah.
one of the nice
Yeah.
things about the program is like we're kind of really on your side around helping you make sure you get your CMRA
Yeah.
status approved. And yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, okay, if you had one, I don't know, tip, words of encouragement to give somebody about their mail program, what would you
Yep.
say?
So, well, I would say you should do it, and I would say for a long time, I was one of the operators who we were with Anytime Mailbox for a long time, and this is probably some of the hesitation too, and, other people would have multiple platforms that they're working with, and I was just like, "We're doing good." Like, we
We're
can't add
fine.
another one. We can't add the chaos. Like, I don't what would we do with mail coming in, and how would we handle it? And so I think
Hmm.
it was 2 summers ago, I finally bit the bullet, and we signed up with iPostal as well, iPostal One as well, and it was like, "Oh, that was so easy." Like, we just got a good system on how to handle from different and we are only on 2 different platforms, really. which for us, I do like to make money. I don't want to leave money on the table. So if there was another platform that I thought could bring us more money and it would fit in with our systems, then I would definitely consider it. But like you should be listed on multiple any platform that is paying Google Ads in your area. You should get listed. And when you're building your program, if you can build it around that idea. So how we do it is we have mailboxes, something, 100 through 300 or whatever are anytime mailbox. Mailbox 300 through 500 are iPostal. So when we sort mail, we automatically know where it's going. So if you can think of your system in that way, like these are the people who are paying Google Ads and I want to work with them and have, set it up from the beginning that way,
Yeah,
it makes it a lot more it is really not scary. Like the platforms are different, but you're doing the same type of thing that it's not that hard to figure it out. And if somebody's paying Google Ads for me, like I want to take advantage of it.
totally. Yep. I love that. I forgot that it took you a while to get on another platform. And that's one of the things we go through too in the challenge is helping
And
you
now I'm like,
parse
sign
out.
up for two at the beginning. Like, do not miss out.
Hmm.
Like, and so I do think it's good to sign up with one and kind of get used to it.
Get
And
the
then,
lay of the
maybe
land,
a
add
couple
one.
weeks later or a month or two later, sign up with the other one. But it's not, you're not gonna, when you sign up for a platform, it's not like you're gonna get 50 people right away. So it is a very slow learning.
Totally. It's not like, right, the mailman's gonna walk in with a,
Right.
a Home Depot bucket
I
of
thought
mail
it.
for you to sort
Yeah.
on day one.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it'll be approachable. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's so many things topics we could talk about. We'll wrap that one up. Well, you're also on the GWA advisory board,
Yes.
and you've been doing that for a while. You've been to a number of conferences. It's
I
my favorite
have.
thing when I get to see Kim Lee in
Yes. I
person.
know. This past year,
Phoenix, you were
oh,
in
I was there. The
Phoenix.
year before I had to
Yep.
cancel at the last minute. But yeah,
Yeah,
Phoenix,
I
and then
know.
I
You get
plan
a
to go
lot
to
of.
Chicago. So yeah, I
You're
live.
going to Chicago, is that what you said? Yeah, it's so close. That's easy for you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
easy. Phoenix was so fun. But yeah, I'll be in Chicago and I think it's a great resource for operators. It's a great the conference is a great way to connect. They've started doing the oh gosh.
Immersive.
Immersive, yes. I'm like, I just lost the word. The like 1 or 1.5 day immersive events all
Yeah.
around the country, which is really you can find it's not intended for you to fly across the country to go to the one in San Francisco when you live in Birmingham, but we just had one in
Yeah.
Nashville. So like being able to if you can, it's great. You always learn stuff and meet people, but it kind of like gets you connected in your region and allows you to have access to the content without having to fly
Yep.
far
And
away.
they're doing one in December in Atlanta.
Oh, I don't think I
Yeah.
knew that.
Which
Yeah,
is totally
I'm
in your neck of the
gonna try.
woods. And actually, since you're going to be there, maybe I'll go.
Oh,
There's so
yeah.
much good co-working in Atlanta, and I haven't been
Yes.
in ages.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah, so
lot.
they do space tours. I just went to the one in San Francisco, and we talked about it on our operator call, but not on the podcast yet. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
love like the big, although I mean, I've been to every conference since
Yeah.
2013. I
Yeah.
mean, forever. I was actually thinking about taking this year off, but I cannot miss
Okay.
Chicago.
Yeah.
But the immersive is such a nice format because it's a small room and you can, chat with everybody. Of course, I couldn't go to day two because Dagny had her knee surgery, but so I missed the space tours and they do space tours. And it's just like, if you're an introvert or like things to be more chill, to your point, like, although people did fly in. The other thing I'll say about conferences, which you've probably started to experience because you've been to a bunch too, is like when you go, I think it was maybe it's James Crenshaw. He's the one of the founders of Gather. He said, "I'm just going because I realize when you go repeatedly, you get more comfortable, you get to know people, and you build relationships
Yeah.
versus like going once every 5 years or whatever."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's totally true.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
still on the board? I don't even know.
No,
Oh, you're not? Okay.
not technically, no.
No, you had rolled off.
And Gio was probably hoping I'd be a little more helpful on the San Francisco event, but I was like, no, it's all you, dude.
Yeah.
He's so good at content. He's very gifted. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I'm good at content too, but he is really gifted at putting together content, piecing together speakers, and he knows everybody. The content at Immersive was so good. I was like, Gio, what are you going to do for the big conference?
Yeah.
Yeah, just really good topics, great speakers. It's, yeah, not that this is a conference pitch, but Yeah, he did a great job. So Chicago will be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, Kimberly, until next time, thank you for talking about mail with us and giving a little bit of insight into your business. Maybe next time we'll talk about team or marketing.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in.
All right.
Okay,
Yep. I'm
great.
in. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, thanks
Thanks,
for
Kim.
having me. I always love it.